Charles. So we're in the final stretch of the relay, and in most good relays, they leave the best for last. So hopefully we can run with that a little bit. We're going to take some practical tips home, hopefully today, about how we can communicate to our guests. Just something that we can think about in how we make our guests feel like they connect with the property. Right. Let's start off by understanding maybe a common guest experience that you might share with me. A couple of weeks ago, I called my broadband provider and eventually got the, "Hi, who am I speaking to? Here's my name and your postcode, please, and your address, and oh, yes, let me pass you on to my colleague." Right? "Hi, who am I speaking to? Is my name and your postcode, please, and oh, yes, that's not this department, let me pass you on to my colleague." So, as a raise of hands, who has experienced that in the last, I don't know, 6 months, 12 months? Yep, we all know it. I've been a customer of theirs for 5 years, right? So how does that make me feel as a customer, all right? Customer experience down here, frustration levels through the roof. I finally understood where my 3-year-old got her tantrums from, right? So let's bring that a little bit closer to home. 3 weeks ago, I went on holiday, and after quite a long flight, finally got to the hotel and was presented with a really long registration card to fill out. So we are still guilty of it in hospitality, maybe not to the same levels of the broadband companies, but let's not think that this is something we're not doing. In fact, in that stay, the digital guest experience just totally didn't match the actual experience that I had on site. The staff were fantastic. The property was brilliant. I had a fantastic holiday. The first piece of communication I got said, "Dear guest." I see a couple of nods. It's quite familiar. In fact, these days, even "dear first name" doesn't make me feel connected. It just means you captured my first name. It doesn't mean that you've taken the time to understand something that might be relevant to me and that this piece of communication should be read, that this piece of communication doesn't just end up as spam. On the right, maybe a few opportunities, right? Nothing too extravagant, but we start to highlight how we understand your experience. Last time you were with us, you booked a spa treatment. Is this something you're interested in as well? You're recognizing I'm a return customer. These are some small things that we can do, and as you build through the guest journey, you're showing the guest that you know who they are. You're showing the guest that they care. Right. Generic guest journeys, we need to move away from them, and we all have the data. There's been some conversations today about data. How far do we go with data? But if we use that first example I gave about speaking to the broadband, they had or should have had my data. They didn't even know my name, right? So wherever we want to draw the line, a generic guest journey misses the opportunities. I might be traveling on a birthday trip. I might be traveling for an anniversary. It might be leisure. It might be business. There are a host of reasons we're all traveling. It's summer now. Who's got summer plans? Come on, we've got to get moving at this stage of the evening. We've all got summer plans, right? And for some of us, those summer plans are our hopes and dreams. It's things that we've been planning for 6 months, a year, maybe it's a wedding. As providers, we should know that we're holding their hopes and dreams, and we should take better care. So I really like this concept, and it was on a webinar recently where one of our guests said, your communication doesn't have to be, not every piece of your communication needs to be unique. It just needs to be relevant. So one of the things we see as a big obstacle is that people go, well, hang on, I can't build this full guest journey for 12 different audiences and for the birthday message and for this and for that. It doesn't, not every piece of communication needs to be unique. It needs to be relevant in order to be read, in order to not be spam, and in order to enhance the guest experience. Right? So that lack of relevance really can cost you. And some examples, a McKinsey study showing there that 71% of guests expect, it improves their experience, they expect that personalized guest experience. Right? And a recent case study that we've done with one of our customers, where we worked really hard with them on personalizing their campaigns, personalizing their guest journey, and working on their loyalty, has seen a dramatic increase in direct bookings. Right, so practical tips. How do we go about doing this? How do we get there? Right? It really is about bringing all of your data. I've had 7 or 8 conversations today, and again, I'm sure I'll see a few nods where people are going, but my data's siloed. I don't have all of this information together. I can't say, but I know you've got a reservation, and I know you've got a spa treatment, or I know you've got a table booking. So it is about bringing that data together. If you're seeing that as a massive obstacle, I'd like to suggest that it is easier than you think it is if you're working with the right partners. And don't see it as an obstacle, but see it as your goal. See it as the opportunity. Because once you have that unified guest view, the opportunities of really providing that guest experience are massively enhanced. Again, trying to keep this quite simple, just a very generic guest journey up at the top. And below, we've just introduced some conversations at the right time to the right guest using the right channel. A good example would be a message sent to guests that have booked room only. Based on their rate code, they haven't got breakfast included. We're going to drop them a quick message before the stay, or maybe straight after check-in. You decide on the trigger, and we're going to use WhatsApp and send a quick message to say, you haven't got breakfast, would you like it? It's not going to your whole audience. There is the ROI, where all the revenue managers, there it is, okay? But it's just that opportunity to connect on something that, as a guest receiving that, I know that's relevant, right? I know I don't have breakfast. Right, again, let's keep this as some tips. What can I do to make this happen? Centralize the data, bring it all together, understand your guest profiles, where we clean up those guest profiles and you really get a sense of who those guests are. You then have the opportunity to segment. How do you want to talk to your guests? You can keep that simple and based on family, leisure, etc. Right? You can dig deeper. You can add layers of those filters and say, well, based on spend, based on the fact that they've stayed with us 10 times, and across those 10 times, they've stayed 30 nights, and they therefore fit into the gold status, and I would like to communicate with them this way. But that segmentation is entirely up to you, and it allows you then to provide far more relevant content when we then go ahead to automate through the various channels. Don't forget that with any of this, there's reporting. And you get to have a good sense of what that reporting does, what's working, what click-throughs are working, what open rates there are, and then you iterate. Important too, of course, right, making sure that your communication all looks the same, right? We spoke to someone very recently where everything was coming from a different platform. Every bit of branding was different, all the imagery, the fonts, etc., right? So keeping that consistency, another thing that really engages with your customer, that allows them to trust your communication. Right, so we heard earlier about introducing operational efficiencies, and we spoke about how tech can really make a difference with those operational efficiencies. If you can take something away with you today, it's that those operational efficiencies make a massive difference, but your guest should never feel like an operational efficiency. Right? So, go take a look at your messaging. Go find, I guarantee you will find one piece of communication that's going out to your guests that is completely generic. Right? Have a look at it. Think about how you could change that to a specific audience. Think about how you could make that one piece of communication more relevant, and go and have a look what difference that makes in your reporting. If you'd like to get a copy of these slides, you can scan that QR code, or we've got a little stand outside. Please come and say hello. Thank you very much.